Andrew Bays is going to be talking about distributed prevention of DDoS. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. So I don't know if anybody's actually downloaded the presentation, but it's a quite full-on presentation. I'm not going to deliver all of the slides. I'll just take some pertinent slides from the deck, and you can read the rest later and maybe chat to me. Okay, so everybody talks about DDoS. I'm going to pull out some probably topical things that have been discussed throughout the day as possible solutions or discussion points. DDoS in itself is obviously the attack that's trying to take service away from your customers and consumers and even your network itself. I want to talk about a different spin. What do we do collaboratively as the UKNOF or a wider brief to prevent these attacks coming in and upsetting the status quo? So I'm not going to blind you with lots of information about what DDoS is. I'm going to make some major assumptions that everybody knows what a denial of service attack is, so I'll skip through a lot of this stuff. But the key thing for us is a lot of these attacks are volumetric, they are not sophisticated, they are noisy, but ultimately some of the high-level layer 7 attacks, which I'll get onto later, are the ones that really do affect the way your service will be provided to your customer base. Okay. Key thing is that collateral damage needs to be investigated. It's not necessarily the attack itself that's the problem. And the key thing here is people looked at spikes in traffic and assume that DDoS is very much a spiky business and maybe sustained over a number of minutes or hours. We've seen information and data sets that suggest that these are going on for months on end now. So you have to provision some sort of detection and mitigation which is going to last for that sort of duration. Okay, everybody knows denial of service is an outage, for want of a better phrase. You have to deal with it. Okay, does it really matter whether it's a denial of service or distributed? In essence, no, because ultimately the service is affected. How you deal with it is the problem. Okay, they've got different mechanisms for dealing with them. Anybody, script kiddies and above, can investigate how to do these things, can rent the DDoS clients, can attack your network and your customers. So it's very easy to do. It's not so easy to mitigate. Botnets and controller command servers are available all over the place, and we've heard also that there's lots of compromises on CPU routers and edge equipment as well. So again, the mechanisms are there, the availability is there, it's just a matter of time. Okay. Some of the things that we need to consider: scalability, massively important. Okay, whether that's scale within your network or collaboratively across all the networks, we need to cope with this stuff. Okay, and really, as a group, we should be specialised in circumventing the problems that manifest themselves. Some of the contributing factors I've mentioned already: compromised equipment, unpatched equipment, software that's running out of date, unpatched, more bandwidth. BT are throwing more and more megabits into the edge. That's going to be a proliferation of attack vectors and amplifications. And there's certain protocols which lend themselves easily to being used to do the attack in the first place. And I'll go into these in a little bit more detail. Okay, I'm not going to go into the mechanisms. You can read about this later, but the key thing is that reflection is a major problem, and if you don't deal with it, you're going to expose yourself to what we call backscatter. The victim itself may not even know that they're the victim until it's too late. So again, as a collaborative entity, we've got to protect the victims, whether they're in your own network or beyond. Okay. Amplification, again, we should know what this is all about. A little query, massive response. Okay, again, undue load, unnecessary load on the network itself, and obviously the victims are affected. Okay, reflection and amplification. Again, massive amounts of data traveling across your network needs to be dealt with. Okay, so how do we mitigate some of these things? We'll get onto that in a minute. One of the things that as we mentioned earlier, was subdomain attacks, okay, by the nominum guys. This is a case of unsolicited queries that are meaningless, but they just create a load. Okay, so what if we've got unknown queries? You need to do something about that. NX domain mitigation has been mentioned, and there's a combination of things that can be done. Okay, for us, and these are not unique. Some of them have been we mentioned earlier. Some of them are server-based. Some of them are complementary to what you want to do at high levels. DDoS protection is across the whole layers infrastructure that we have, and some may be less desirable in the first instance, but again, due to the scale of the problem, you can't fix all of the boxes at once. You've got to roll these out. So perhaps a proxy level, a higher level, high scale approach is key. DNS, any request filtering, absolutely important. Who wants to filter these things out? Any request may not be something you want to proliferate. Rate limiting by FQDN. Okay. Again, some of the larger Google.coms may have a different rate limit to the smaller. You know what your traffic metrics are looking like. You can possibly rate limit at that particular level. By record type, a certain A records which would have definitely a different set of rates to NX records or NS records. Again, profiling, metrics, instrumentation helps you. NX domain inspection and rate limiting, absolutely key to protect your resolvers. Okay, if you have too much NX domain, it's going to take up resource on your DNS infrastructure. Label inspection. This is a very good way of stopping those very dodgy queries coming through. Okay, I mean you may have industry standard is fairly straightforward, 3 labels, generally speaking. But you can possibly do rate limiting on those 3 labels individually, or you could perhaps stop those extended random strings coming through in the first place. All of these things can be done at the server level. It takes time to roll those out. What is backscatter? This is the unintended traffic that is generated by the victims or the intermediary servers that really don't know what they're doing. Okay, so we need to be able to share what an attacker looks like and what a victim looks like and maybe deal with them differently. Okay, some of the metrics. Queries per second has been mentioned quite a lot as one way of instrumenting and possibly using that as a metric against protection. But geotemporal would be another thing. Okay, can we follow the trends around the world? Are there particular hotspots? We need to track those. And sharing bad actors and victims in whitelist, blacklist, blocklist, call them what you will. So for me, I'm a part of the vendor community, but I see ourselves as part of a bigger team. We need to understand whether defending yourself, as in the service provider, is conducive to protecting everybody else as an overall citizen. Okay, so talk to the likes of us, because we can collaborate, we can share information, we can maybe introduce new ideas that you've come to enjoy. The likes of ISC are developing new bind metrics and attack vector mitigations. Maybe we can roll those in as well. So for us, it's a case of you've got to do both sides of the plan. Some of it's going to cost more money, but will be more rapid, protects, gives you more time to do the least costly, somewhat cheaper approaches. Okay, so you're probably doing a lot of these already, but it never hurts to review and see if there are other areas where you can improve the networks and the collaboration that we should be embracing. So for me, single-handedly trying to attempt to do everything is going to be impossible, and no one entity can do this. Lots of service levels are in place between you and your consumers, you and your peers, you and your upstream providers. Okay, so start with defending yourself and then have an eye on defending the people that you're connecting to. And most importantly, shared intelligence. Okay, there's certain collaboration going on within the DDoS environment, but it could always be better. And we're always listening. Okay. So on that note, I think we'll take some questions.
Okay, no questions.
Okay. We're outside if you need to talk.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew.